Okay, so what we're going to do here is create a presentation board for the site study phase of the site design process. So what you want to do is, well, first you want to navigate to the shared folder, and that's going to be the 370 private small space studio. You have a link to this. This is the file that I shared with you all. You're going to go to your reference folder. You're going to go into the example project. And also keep in mind that everything that I do for this project I upload ultimately to this reference folder so that you all can access it. So everything that I've worked on, my images and my JPEGs, will all be here. But what you all want to navigate to is the IND, which is the extension for InDesign. And you're just going to then click on the site study board. And you're going to click on the site study board. It's actually INDD, and just download it to your desktop is fine, or wherever. And you're just going to open that file when it downloads with InDesign. So we have it there. I'm going to click on it. InDesign pops open. I already had it open, so it's opening a little faster for me. Now some of these things might be a little bit different. I am on a Mac, but it should be primarily the same thing. Now what I've done is I've gone ahead and formatted a presentation board for you. There are many tutorials online that describe how to create or how to use InDesign, but basically InDesign is comprised of image boxes, or image frames rather, and text frames. I mean, there's different tools, but primarily you'll be using your text boxes and your image frames, and that's pretty much what I use to build this this entire board. Now I hit W, and W is your toggle. Just hitting it by itself toggles in and out of edit mode. If I hit W again, it goes into presentation mode, and you'll see the board as it would be printed. Okay, so that's a good shortcut to keep in mind, and hopefully you will see that shortcut key on your screen. Like I said, InDesign is comprised of text frames and these image frames, and the way it works is, rather than embedding images into your document, and you'll see this text frame I just dragged out, you actually, and I'm going to do a shortcut to embed an image, you actually reference the image file into your drawing, and it allows the drawing to move much more quickly, because it's not that large as if you embedded a file into it like you were working in Photoshop. But that means, though, to work like that you have to, let's put grass in to show you an example, that you have to have all your images done ahead of time, okay? Which in this case is not a problem, because that's what we've been doing, right? We've been doing the inventory and we've been pulling all these images. So at this point, all we're doing is just placing them. And you can see the image frame is effectively like a window, and you can move your image around inside of it. Now I'm moving the image around inside of it with the white arrow, the direct selection tool, and not the selection tool. The selection tool will actually move the whole box. Okay, so that's an important concept to remember too. And a lot of these things function the same way. If I hold Shift, I'm able to maintain the constraints and shift the drawing. Another important shortcut is just right-clicking on the image frame and going to your fitting settings. And you have all these different fitting settings, and you can play around with these, but typically you're just going to fill the frame proportionally. And it'll fill, so say, let me give you a more dramatic image of that. So say this was this large, and I wanted it came in that big, and I just wanted to have the image fill the frame proportionally. So then I would go here, and you see it automatically kind of shrinks the image, and you can also center this image as well, center content. I guess it is centered. So that's the kind of the basic of doing these image frames, and everything you see here is an image frame. Now you do see an outline, and you see that these are circular, and you're actually able to select different shapes if you hold I'm holding the left click, the left mouse click, and you're able to toggle through and select the polygon, ellipse, or rectangle. You are also able to create an outline, and the outline in this case, I'll click on this, you see has been dashed off, and I click on this one, you'll see that the outline is orange, and you'll see an orange outline. So you're actually able to add a stroke to your image and text frames. So if you want to change the color too, you can just make a copy of that, go to it, you would double click it and then play with your settings in order to find another color that you would like to use. So we'll just pick that. And you're able to change the point stroke, and that's just the line thickness so that you can actually see your line. That might be a little thin. Let's do 10 just to show it. Okay, so I'm just going to click out, and you'll see that that outline then, oops, too much, is created around that image frame. Alright, and I'm zooming in the same way I'm in Photoshop by holding in, on the PC I believe it's going to be your control, holding control and touching the minus to zoom out and the plus to zoom in. I'm on my Mac, so it's my command key. Alright, and it's the same thing, so it's very similar in functionality to Photoshop because it is part of the Adobe Design Suite. So if I hold spacebar, it gives me the pan tool like I'm in Photoshop. Okay, and this also is very, very similar, especially with the pens and having stroke and fills to Illustrator. So even though you're learning these two programs primarily right now, the Photoshop and InDesign, theoretically you're also learning some functionality with the other InDesign or Adobe Suite products. Alright, so there goes the text frame. I'm just going to give this general overview, or the image frame. Now the text frame is very similar. You're just pulling it out. It creates a box as well. You're able to select your text options here. So I'm just going to go Century Gothic. It's my favorite font. Let's make it so you can see it. Let's go ahead and make it 50. And try this on your own. Okay, now you can make this bold or italic here in these settings. You can change the size of the font here. There are also dialog windows for your fonts, for characters and paragraphs here as well. And if you don't see it, here are some window options to actually turn things on and off. And I believe there's also one for actually to show your characters too there. So then you can do the same thing here. So it just brings basically that dialog box here and adds it to your sidebar. So you can change these things here. And as you can change with these settings, you do spacings and typesets. There's a lot of things you could do with InDesign because it is made for creating presentations and layouts, magazine spreads, or whatever. So there's a lot of type functionality, font functionality, typology that you can play with in it. We're keeping it pretty basic for this, but I would encourage you to explore this tool on your own. And like I said, there's many tutorials online. Okay, so let's get to it. So now that you have this board downloaded, you'll see that I have all these images here already that I've placed. Now you can use some of my images. You have to use your own inventory, but you can use my state, city, and site context maps, kind of showing where the site is. But it's really easy to pull. I just went to Google Maps, and I'll zoom in a little bit so you can see. I just went to Google Maps and just did snapshots and embedded them in here, and just did the image frames at different sizes to kind of convey scale as we're shifting and zooming into the site. If you want to use my images, you will have to download the links though. You'll see that when I click on the link and I go to the, and actually these are linking. Okay, so they're on my desktop. But when you download the file, and I did this at school, those links will say missing link. You'll still see your images, but it'll have a red asterisk, I believe, beside it and say, missing a link. You will then have to relink those images, and if you have to do that, you'll have to download those images as well. So my images are back here in that same folder, and those are just the links. And when I click on links, you'll see all the images that I've used in this board. So you would have to download that, excuse me, and then relink those images. Now to relink the image, whether you're using your own image, hopefully, or mine, you simply click on the image frame. You would navigate to that links folder, and you'll see this screenshot, and that's the PNG that I used here. And you'll click this, it looks like a chain, to relink an image. And now when I do that, say for instance I select, I don't know, this image, it'll pop in. And then you can play with it and move it around with the white arrow and scale it out if you like. And that's what you basically are going to be doing. You're just going to be replacing my images with your imagery, so you don't really have to change anything. Feel free to change the color, and really if you're feeling ambitious and you want to try to build your own board, that's fine. If you do that, I would encourage you, and eventually you will be doing this, but for this exercise I'm just trying to give you a feel for how this works and how to present your information. But I would really encourage you, before you begin to build it in design, first do it on paper, whether it be on a piece of trace paper or just a piece of loose paper. Get your idea down first and then build it in InDesign. It'll make things a lot faster, even though that might be a little counterintuitive. It tends to work like that, especially when you get really creative, because you can do cool things and actually shift your text around objects. For instance, if I wanted to move this, let me just demonstrate that over here. And I want to right click on this and go to text wrap over here actually, and I can so it's very similar to Word, where you can wrap things, objects around your boxes. In this case, I'm going to get it close, so you could actually begin to wrap the actual object shape, this circular shape, and you see the text beginning to wrap around it. So you can get really cool and do cool things and bring in images from Photoshop that you've cropped, and actually come up with some really cool schemes in InDesign. But that's basically going to be it for that. You're just going to click on these pieces and relink your image here. Now, if you want to, for instance, I'm using my site imagery. I just did long shots of each side of the building. But if you wanted to do different shots and have more images, you can definitely do that. You can simply just shift these image frames, and you'll see a really cool thing about InDesign. It gives you these kind of smart guidelines. So I'm holding Alt and just bringing these things over, so you can actually make more of these. And you see where these arrows pop up and to indicate that these things are equidistant. So it really helps you kind of build these pieces. And I'm just going to shrink that down. You see it's locking in. So one can quickly become 3 images. So you can add as many images as you would really like to put into this board. So I just did mine. I made mine pretty simplistic. But if you want to do a little bit more to it, you certainly can. And I'm just going to filter in proportionally, so you can kind of see what I'm talking about there. But that's really easy to do. As far as the text is concerned, what I want you all to do is come up with your own project overview, something similar. It's just describing the project. So if somebody had no idea about what we're doing, they can walk up to the board and walk away with a general sense of where you are in the design process and what the project is about. So you're trying to kind of like what you would do to sell the idea of what's going on. That just as a title, this is what I came up with. If you want to come up with something else, that's fine. And if you do come up with a different size board or different length or different format, what I would ask you to do, please, is make sure that your width dimension is 17 inches, because I want to be able to print 2 boards at a time on our plotter, and our plotter roll is 36 inches. So at least make that 17 so we can make sure we can print 2 at a time and not waste paper. I came in here and I put in a quote just from the pamphlet that they gave us, a little handout. If you wanted to put something else in there or put more imagery in there, you certainly can. I had filler space, and I thought that was a good break. And sometimes it's nice to put little sayings or expressions or a narrative that helps begin to describe what you're trying to achieve with your design. Your group name, you can come up with your own group name. I don't care what you, just keep it clean, please. You can double click on this, and I'm just double clicking on these things, and you can change your design parameters if you would like. The 5-foot minimum walkways with a max of 2% cross slope for wheelchair access has to stay. That's part of the ADA compliance and something you all need to be cognizant of, as does the 50-foot center line from Bluford. And what that is saying is from the municipality, they're dictating that, and this is Bluford, so we really can't see our center line, but basically a 50-foot point from that. And basically what that means is the city owns this sidewalk and this buffer strip. Now we're still going to design some of that, but in real life that would not be allowed. That would be a setback. So I guess you actually can ignore that design parameter, because I'm ignoring it because I'm actually going to touch that space. But I'll leave it up to you what you want to do, but it's something at least to be cognizant of. But what I do want everybody to adhere to is the ADA compliance. That's just making sure that wheelchairs can navigate through the site comfortably. All right. And some things that I noticed, like the 7:3 ratio, but you all as a group can come up with a general consensus of what you think your design parameters should be for the project. Now the consolidated program element list is just, I took the old, and this is the part you saw in the phase, and I didn't add this to this, but let me navigate to it. Under references and stakeholder program. So here, what you'll see is that identified who the potential site people that would use the site in the vicinity, right? So I had the municipality, or that the site would affect. The actual center's employees, their patients, our school, the immediate community, and so on and so forth. And what I try to do with the program elements is identify things that each stakeholder or group might want to have in that space. If they had things their way, if it was a perfect world for them, what might they want to see in the space? And you could create an actual form and go out and send it out and really have real information. For this project, we're just using it as an example, so we're just trying to put ourselves in the place of that people, of these different parties, and kind of walk in their shoes. So once you have that done, then I decided there were certain things that I could keep, maybe some commonalities that I should definitely include in my final program. But I created a consolidated list because everybody can't be happy. Unfortunately, this is ultimately going to be a healing garden, and certain amenities like maybe a basketball court or a splash park just wouldn't fit the use. So this is just the consolidated list of program elements, and that's what I've placed here, just my consolidated list of the program elements. But you can come up with what you think that should be. Alright, that's going to be your board and these images. Now the last part I want to talk about, and I think it's a pretty cool thing, and something that I think you're going to see a lot more often, is finding ways to engage the community without being there. So the idea is that I can place this board on the wall, maybe even if this is a different project in that community somewhere, maybe there's a community center, and people can kind of go through these phases and understand what you're beginning to do. And you can create a QR code that they can scan with their phone and attach this with information. You can actually embed video here. In this case, I'm doing a survey. Now, I'm not even sure what the QR code stands for, but hopefully you've seen these things around now. But the QR code, let's find out, what does QR code stand for? What does code stand for? A machine-readable code. Okay, well, there you go. Here's a definition. A machine-readable code consisting of an array of black and white squares, typically used for storing URLs or other information for reading by the camera on a smartphone. Now, these applications are free to download. So you all, if you have a smartphone, you have access, and you should be able to read and scan these QR codes. So actually, this one is live now on this InDesign page. So you can actually pause this video and scan that, and you should be taken to the survey that other people would see. So this thing is live and is actually on the wall now. But what we're going to do for this case is we're going to create just a quick Google form questionnaire, just to ask people what they think about what we've done so far, and if they have any feedback. And you can generate your own questions. I think in my case I wrote down what did they think, but we're going to go through the process of creating a new one. So once you're logged into your account, and just one group member can do this for the entire group, but I'm going to go create, and I'm going to go form, create and share because it's in my shared folder. I'm just going to select a format. Let's do the blue. Okay. Of course you can title your form. And maybe your group name. And how about the CHBW first? Healing Garden Site Study. I don't know, feedback, whatever you want to call it, maybe your group name. Just come up with something, but definitely include your group name in it. And I'm just going to ask in this case, and you have different options. You could do multiple choice. We're just going to do a paragraph text box. What do you think about the project so far? Maybe that's one question. You would just go done. Oh, that's actually the help text. So let me actually go up here, paste that. So be aware of that. To create another one, I'm just going to add an item, and I can do a paragraph again. What do you think about the project so far? Is there anything? Are there any questions? Any questions you have so far about the project? things along those lines, just to get feedback. And what's cool about this is once I go to view the live form, I can copy this URL. So I'm just gonna, in my case, command copy with control copy. And I use this site called Visual Lead, and it asks you to log in, but it's free. They do have options where you can pay for more. But while I like using Visual Lead because their QR codes are a little different because you can embed imagery into them. So you can actually create something in Photoshop that might be more indicative of your design and bring that image in when you create more. Bring that image in and overlay the URL on top of it. But I'm just dropping in my website URL, selecting next. In this case, there's also images they already have pre-formatted for us. So I'm going to go more, and I believe there's an icon for, yeah, just information. There's one for a form too, document QR code, code design, or whatever. We'll use the still the I. And we're going to generate silver. Obviously, the higher you go, the more the money begins to occur. You don't want to spend any money. You can do this for free. You do have the option of changing the colors. We're going to keep it the same here. Just select next. Generate silver. Sorry. Let's just do that. There. So now your QR code is generated. So we're going to go next. It's going to ask me to log in again. So let me log in. Okay, so once you've logged in, you'll see that you have the gold, silver, or free option. I'm gonna go for the free option, and I bet you're gonna go for that too. So once you have the free option here, and you see your QR code has been generated, and this is all free, you can just download that image. You can as a PNG or a JPEG. Let's do a JPEG. You would download it. It's going to drop in as a JPEG, visual QR code, and you would simply go back to your InDesign file and just embed it. So now I'm here, and I've just embedded that QR code. So if I wanted to relink that, I don't know what I did with it. Downloads, right? And you would just go there once you create your own and your questions. And where is it? Where is it? Okay, so we're going to go blue this time. So then I'll go open, it'll relink and pop in, and there you go. And there's your new QR code. And that thing will be live, so now when people walk up to your board, it's interactive. They can actually scan it and give you feedback. So you can ask pretty good questions and generate some good feedback for your project, because this is still very early in the design process. And really what we're trying to do, what this phase is all about, is really acquiring information and figuring out what's going on site and what should be changed, if any. Well, obviously something's going to be changed, but what needs to be changed and what things you should be looking at. So you really want public feedback, especially at this point, because you would hate to go and do all this and get through design development, through conceptualization and into design development, and find out that the client wanted something different or the public wanted something different. So this is a great opportunity to a good stop point through the phase, and every phase is a good stop point to kind of show people where you are and to get feedback. And this is another way of interacting with people virtually. So that is effectively how you do this board. Now once you have this, you're just going to save this to a PDF and put it in your group folder. So in my case, I have Adobe presets, and I'm just going to go press quality. It doesn't need to be the really high quality print. You can just do press quality, that's fine, because these are pretty big, so yeah, just do press quality. And you would save it to your desktop and then upload it. And the way you would do that, let me just show you that. So I'm going to go to the site study board and save that there. I'm going to export it. And what you would do to upload it to your group folder then, so you go to your assignments, and we're in project number 1, right? And assignment number 1. Now I've already created group names, so let's say that it was Henry's group. I would click in that, and you should be able to upload that file into it. Go to my desktop, and I would upload that board. If you can't upload, just shoot me an email, and I might need to change permissions on the Google on the Google folder. Once you have that, you should be good to go. If you have any questions, you can shoot me an email or talk to me in class.